If there is only one true God, why does the Bible keep mentioning other gods? It's a question many people think about, but few ask openly. Across history, different nations, cultures, and civilizations have worshipped different beings. Ancient Egypt had its gods. Greece had its gods. Even in biblical times, surrounding nations constantly bowed to idols and spiritual figures that were not the God of Israel. So what does that mean? Were they all wrong? Were those gods real? Or is there something deeper happening behind what people call gods? The Bible does not ignore this question. In fact, it addresses it directly, but not in the way many expect. From the very beginning, God makes a statement: "You shall have no other gods before me." Exodus 20 verse 3. This is not just a command, it is a revelation. It shows that people were already exposed to the idea of other gods. The issue was not their existence as objects of worship, but their truth. So the real question is not, are there other gods people believe in? The real question is, what are those gods, and what is behind them? This is where understanding becomes important. Because the Bible doesn't just tell you what to avoid, it explains why. And when you begin to see it clearly, you realize this is not just about ancient history. It's about perception. It's about influence. It's about truth versus deception. When people hear the phrase other gods in the Bible, it can sound confusing. If God is truly one, why even mention others? But the Bible uses this language not to validate them as equal, but to confront the reality of human belief. Throughout the Old Testament, God speaks to people who are surrounded by nations deeply committed to idol worship. These cultures didn't just casually believe in other gods, they structured their lives around them. So when God says, "You shall have no other gods before me," Exodus 20 verse 3, he is addressing a real environment, a world filled with competing loyalties and beliefs. Philosophically, this reveals something important about human nature. People are wired to worship. If they do not direct that worship toward truth, they will direct it somewhere else, toward power, toward objects, toward ideas, or toward created things. The Bible acknowledges other gods because it acknowledges what people choose to elevate. But then it makes a clear distinction. In the book of Psalms, "For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens." Psalm 96 verse 5. Here, the contrast is direct. Other gods are described as idols, things created, imagined, or formed by human hands. But the Lord is the Creator Himself. This is not a comparison of equals. It is a separation between what is real and what is constructed. In Isaiah, this idea becomes even clearer. "I am the Lord, and there is no other. Apart from me there is no God." Isaiah 45 verse 5. So the Bible does two things at once. It acknowledges that people worship other gods. It declares that those gods are not truly divine. This removes confusion. The existence of belief does not equal the existence of truth. Just because something is worshipped does not mean it is real in the way people think. And this is where understanding deepens. Because the danger is not just in false belief. It is in what that belief leads to. When people give their attention, trust, and devotion to something that is not truth, it begins to shape how they think, how they act, and how they live. So the Bible doesn't ignore other gods. It exposes them, not as rivals to God, but as reflections of human misdirection. If the Bible says that the gods of the nations are idols, the next question becomes deeper. Are idols just empty objects? Or is there something more behind them? At first, an idol may seem harmless. It is made of wood, stone, or metal. It has no life, no breath, no power in itself. The Bible even points this out. They have mouths, but cannot speak, eyes, but cannot see. Those who make them will be like them. Psalm 115 verses 5 to 8. This shows that idols, by themselves, are lifeless. But the Bible does not stop there. In the New Testament, Paul introduces a deeper layer. The things which the Gentiles sacrifice. They sacrifice to demons and not to God.
1 Coríntios 10 horas e 20.
This is where the understanding shifts. The object itself is not the real issue. The issue is what it represents, and what it connects to. Philosophically, this points to the idea of symbol and influence. Humans don't just interact with objects, they attach meaning to them. They project belief, fear, hope, and trust into what they worship. And where attention goes, influence follows. So while an idol is physically lifeless, the act of worship is not neutral. It opens the door to spiritual influence. This is why the Bible repeatedly warns against idolatry, not because objects are powerful, but because misdirected worship has consequences. In Deuteronomy, this warning appears again. They sacrificed to demons that were not God, to gods they had not known. Deuteronomy 32 verse 17. This shows a pattern. People create or adopt a god. They give it attention and devotion. That devotion connects to something beyond the physical. This is why the Bible is so firm on this issue. It is not trying to limit people, it is trying to protect them. Because worship shapes identity. What you honor influences you. What you follow directs you. What you give your attention to begins to define your reality. So when the Bible speaks about other gods, it is not presenting alternatives. It is exposing pathways that lead away from truth. And that brings everything into focus. The real danger is not that other gods exist in power equal to God. The danger is that people give their lives to what is not true, and slowly become shaped by it. If the Bible clearly teaches that there is one true God, why have so many people throughout history turned to other gods? This question is not just historical, it is deeply human. People are naturally drawn to what feels visible, immediate, and controllable. The true God is unseen, and walking with him requires faith, patience, and trust. But idols, whether physical or symbolic, feel closer, easier, and more predictable. This is why Israel, even after witnessing miracles, struggled with idolatry. In Exodus, when Moses delayed on the mountain, the people quickly turned to something they could see. "Come, make us gods who shall go before us." Exodus 32 verse 1. They didn't stop believing in God completely, they just wanted something more tangible. Philosophically, this reflects a deeper tension. Humans often prefer certainty over truth. Something visible can feel more real than something spiritual, even if it is not. In Romans, Paul explains this clearly. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator. Romans 1 verse 25. Notice the word exchanged. It was not ignorance, it was a choice. This shows that idolatry is not just about objects. It is about misplaced priorities. Anything that takes the position of ultimate importance in your life can function like a god. It could be power, money, influence, approval, even self. The Bible hints at this broader idea when it says, "Little children, keep yourselves from idols." 1 John 5 verse 21. This warning is short, but deep. It doesn't list specific objects, it speaks to a condition of the heart. Because idols are not always statues. Sometimes, they are internal. A pattern where people slowly replace truth with what feels easier, more visible, or more comfortable. And that is why awareness matters. Because deception is not always loud. Sometimes, it is simply what you never question. After understanding how people are drawn to other gods and how deception works, the question becomes personal. How do you stay grounded in truth? Because knowing is one thing, living it is another. The Bible does not just warn, it also shows the way back. In Jeremiah, there is a powerful promise. "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." Jeremiah 29 verse 13. This reveals something important. Truth is not hidden, it requires intention. In a world filled with distractions, attention becomes your most valuable resource. What you focus on shapes what you believe, and what you believe shapes how you live. This is why Jesus said, "No one can serve two masters." Matthew 6 verse 24. This is not just about loyalty, it is about direction. You cannot divide your focus between truth and everything else without eventually drifting. Philosophically, this is about alignment. A divided life creates confusion. A focused life creates clarity. So returning to truth is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about realigning your attention, again and again. This can look simple. Choosing reflection over distraction. Choosing truth over comfort. Choosing awareness over autopilot. The Bible also reminds us, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12 verse 2. Transformation begins in the mind. What you allow to shape your thinking will shape your life. So if deception works through subtle influence, then truth must be pursued intentionally. This is not about fear of being misled. It is about commitment to what is real. And here is the key. Returning to truth is always possible. No matter how far someone has drifted, the moment they become aware and choose to seek again, direction begins to change. Because truth does not force itself. It waits to be chosen. After everything we've explored, the picture becomes clear. The Bible does not present other gods as equal powers competing with God. It reveals something deeper. People create, follow, and give their lives to things that are not God, and over time, those things begin to shape them. Some are physical, some are cultural, some are internal, but the pattern is the same. Misplaced worship leads to misdirected living. This is why Scripture consistently brings the focus back to one truth. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Deuteronomy 6 verse 4. This is not just a statement, it is a foundation. It reminds us that truth is not divided. It is singular, and everything else must be understood in relation to it. The Bible acknowledges that people will encounter other beliefs, other influences, and other gods. But it does not leave the meaning unclear. It shows that some are created by human imagination. Some are sustained by culture and tradition. Some involve deeper spiritual deception. But none of them are the source of life. Only one is. Jesus makes this even more direct. I am the way, the truth, and the life. John 14 verse 6. This brings everything to a conclusion. Truth is not just an idea. It is a path, and every path leads somewhere. Philosophically, this is about direction and outcome. What you follow determines where you end up. What you believe determines how you live. So the real question is not, do other gods exist in belief? The real question is, what are you choosing to follow? Because in the end, every person is shaped by what they give their attention, trust, and devotion to. And that choice is not made once. It is made daily, in small decisions, in quiet moments, in what you prioritize when no one is watching. So the warning about other gods is not just about avoiding something external. It is about guarding something internal. Your focus, your direction, your alignment with truth. And this is where everything settles. Not in fear, not in confusion, but in clarity. There is one source of truth. Everything else must be measured against it. And the life you build will always reflect the direction you choose.